Draymond Green doing Draymond Green things and suspension coming. We'll talk about that. Plus Zach LaVine and the Bulls heading for a divorce. Is there going to be a big sell-off? And the Clippers clipping. We'll talk about it right now on the Locked On NBA podcast.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there. Welcome back to the Locked On NBA podcast. Right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Oh, we got free, fresh podcasts for you daily, cooking them up and just serving them up. Rotating hosts all week on here on the Locked On NBA podcast. And we're your Wednesday duo. I'm John Karalis. I host the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast on Twitter at Nola Jake. Feeling good on a Tuesday night as we record the Wednesday show. We got some drama.
Oh, yeah. You must be feeling good. You just beat the tar out of the Dallas Mavericks.
That was cool.
That
on
was
the court, which was awesome. I love the in-season tournament courts. Purple, highlighter green. I love it. Sponsored by Highlighter. That's the most that game should have been played under black lights. It would have been cool. Actually, it would have been really cool.
Between that court and Utah Jazz's Prince Court, which is all purple and like guarantee you Prince had that basketball court in Minnesota. That's perfect. Like those were just incredible. I don't know.
What's your favorite Prince song?
Ooh,
that's not like an easy question.
You know what? I don't know. Let's go crazy.
That works. Mine is Little Red Corvette. One, because I own one, and two, it'll probably tie into our eBay Motors sponsorship later.
All right, let's start with somebody who went crazy, Draymond Green, which overshadowed what ended up being a pretty good game between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors. By the way, Minnesota Timberwolves are owners of the NBA belt. It's your favorite. It's my favorite thing. For people who don't know the NBA belt, it's the champs come in with the NBA belt and have to defend it. It's a fictional thing, but you have to defend it like a fight. And the Denver Nuggets came in, they lost it. And at this point, the Minnesota Timberwolves got it and have been just rolling with it. They've now won 7 straight games. And they look great. But at the beginning of this game, they had Jaden McDaniels getting into a little tussle with Klay Thompson. They got ejected. But the story is, Jake, Draymond Green flying in like a WWE wrestler, throwing Rudy Gobert into a sleeper hold, throwing Twitter into a meme-filled fantasy land. And now the question is, everybody was like, what the... Draymond, what the hell, man? What are you doing? Suspension coming for Draymond Green or no?
Yes, has to, right? Like it doesn't need to be that. It doesn't need to be that long. He's got to be suspended for at least a game. I would expect it to just simply be a game. But you look at that, and Gobert's trying to kind of break up the tussle between McDaniels and Thompson, and is like doing the right thing of like pulling his teammate off of the other guy. And then Draymond comes in and just escalates it. The memes that come out of this are going to be fantastic first and foremost, but just why is this a thing? Like, why did he need to do this? What was the point of this? I mean, this is what Draymond Green does. And sometimes it fires up his team. Didn't fire him up enough in this one, given that they lost. So I wonder if it was partially that. He's like, oh, this is my time to shine, and I don't contribute as much offensively like I used to. So maybe I motivate him more by doing this. But it's just dumb, man.
It is dumb. Need. And I feel like there's some simmering Rudy Gobert hatred in there.
Yeah, around the league from everybody probably.
Right.
He's the most annoying player in the league, it feels like.
Right. There's not a lot of love for Rudy Gobert around the league. However, I think Draymond has just gone over the top, and it's just you can't keep getting away with this stuff. And honestly, Jake, a 1-game suspension to me is getting away with it. Okay. I feel like this guy has he continues punching a teammate, but kicking people in the nuts. It's just over and over and over again. He's constantly not just towing the line, dancing on the line of what's acceptable on the court. And at this point, his prior history has to come into play. I'm tired of it. That was unnecessary. And like, Gobert wasn't doing anything. He wasn't like, if he was on top of Klay Thompson, just pounding away, ground and pound, like, yeah, okay, fine. He was just there kind of like starting to separate things. And no, that was absolutely uncalled for. So I know in Adam Silver's NBA, a game like is a big time punishment, but they got to come down on him. I'm not going to belabor the point. In the meantime, what's overshadowed here is a big game and maybe a little silver lining for the Golden State Warriors, where Brandon Podziemski comes in and scores 23 points. It's 9 of 18 shots, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Here's a guy that, they're looking for contributors, and here's a guy with Steph Curry out for the game. He steps up, and the Warriors almost pull this game off thanks to him.
Yeah, he was a guy I was actually really high on in the draft. There was talk he could have been a lottery pick or just outside it. They ended up maybe getting a bit of a steal. And for a team, a lot of people were making up about how they haven't had another 20-point scorer this season other than Steph. So to have a guy come in and hit some shots and contribute in well-rounded areas to make up for multiple deficiencies on a somewhat thin at times roster, I think is really important for them.
Yeah, it's a nice kind of little discovery. And in the midst of like a really tough time to find a guy like that, it's like silver lining.
Sure. Some of the other guys just haven't like stepped up for them in the way that we thought it would be, right? Like Kuminga hasn't been the guy that maybe we thought he was going to be. Same for Moses Moody too. So to get a rookie that's actively looking like he's got a higher ceiling than those guys is massive, I think. It is.
And let's make sure that we're giving Minnesota the proper amount of time here.
Yes.
Because Minnesota came like they went out and won this game. This stretch at the end where Rudy Gobert comes out and blocks a 3-point attempt, and then they come down the other end. Anthony Edwards makes a great pass to the corner. Mike Conley hits a 3-pointer, ices the game. The Minnesota Timberwolves, the guys were talking about it yesterday on the show, and they were kind of going back and forth on how real this is. I mean, I've seen the Boston Celtics go into Minnesota and lose. The Timberwolves continue to, with their defense, go out there and win. They hold the Warriors again. No Steph Curry, obviously, but still, it's 101 points. It's 42% shooting, 33% from three. They do the job defensively, and they get not just a monster game from Anthony Edwards as usual. They get Karl Anthony Towns with his best game of the season, 33 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. The Timberwolves have proven themselves, I think. It's obviously early, but I was skeptical, but I think they're starting to show the little things that tell me that they're a team that's together the way.
No, that's it. You nailed it. They're confident, right? Like you see it in their play. They are a confident team and they believe in one another. And when you combine that with the defense that they have and then the playmaking that they get from Anthony Edwards offensively, this is a team that looks legit. They have maybe the best wins this season, the Celtics, right? As you mentioned, Denver, Miami, they take care of business for the most part against bad teams. Their only losses are on opening night to Toronto and then to Atlanta, who's also not as bad as maybe people were expecting them to be this season. And now they have belief in themselves and confidence. Like that's something that should scare the rest of the league.
Yeah. Anthony, and it's Anthony Edwards. He oozes confidence. He oozes confidence, man. He's so like.
We talked about it last week with his quote from the other day and everything. Yeah. It was like, yep, like I'm buying all the Anthony Edwards stock right now.
You see the video that is kind of making the rounds before this, where Draymond Green's trying to like start some stuff with him in a prior game, like, what are you going to do about it? And Anthony Edwards like, no, nobody's worried about you, man. Like, not even engaging, not getting about. He's like,
love it.
We're not worried about you. Like, just shut up. Just, which is great. Absolutely great. The confidence from him is amazing. It's feeding the entire Timberwolves. I don't know where they're going to be at the end because there's still some question marks, but right now they are a team that can beat you with their defense, and they have an absolute superstar that can take over down the stretch.
Yep.
And
that's all you need.
Guys like Conley that can hit the big shots when you double them. So they are a work in progress, but man, I love their progress. It's been great.
Yeah. They're going to be a pain in the playoffs.
You know who's not going to be a pain in the playoffs? The Chicago Bulls. Not for a while. They haven't been, and they won't be. And it looks like they're tearing things apart. Zach LaVine. But is Zach LaVine the biggest prize? Let's play some real or fake when we come back. Today's show brought to you by eBay Motors. Our partners there at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring out some of your best fantasy picks each week, all season long. So whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire every week, we're going to give you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out for us in this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. I'm looking down this list and some interesting names like Bilal Coulibaly on Washington, Skylar Mays in Portland, and Keontae George in Utah. But there's a couple of names here that stick out. Kyle Lowry, to me, who is stepping up without Tyler Hero. I thought he's been cooked, but he's been pretty strong. So he's an ad that you should consider for now if he's available. And a guy that probably is available, Jacob Gilyard for Memphis. And it's especially important because Marcus Smart went down with a sprained left ankle. So it's another guy that is going to, with Smart out and Memphis just struggling with injuries, he's going to be a guy that's going to get a lot of time. He can get you assists, and he's going to get the minutes. So, in fantasy, the first thing you need is the minutes. Josh Lloyd from the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast is going to help you win your fantasy championship. And eBay Motors knows a championship team is about players being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle, like Jake and a little red Corvette. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, whatever your little baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's a guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Hey, thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Jake, have you seen this new thing that Locked On has launched? The first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Super, super cool. Locked On Sports Today, 24/7. Local hosts, local experts, and shows like this one running 24/7.
We're on there.
Yeah. Check it out on YouTube. Subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. That is super, super cool. It's going to be super cool for some team to get whatever the Chicago Bulls are selling off. Zach LaVine, according to Shams Charania, is available. And it seems like there's mutual interest. If the Bulls are blowing it up, which they should be.
They should.
Haven't they been? Like, it's funny. I was listening to, I think it was a Hoop Collective, and they're just like, the Chicago Bulls don't realize that they're in the middle of a rebuild. They've got to do something because they're in the middle of a rebuild. So Zach LaVine is among is first and foremost the guy that's going to be on his way out. And so, you have any ideas of where Zach LaVine might go? Where, there's some rumors out there, usual suspects, Miami, Philadelphia. Any of those make sense to you?
Yeah, sure. Those make sense. I also think Zach LaVine is incredibly hard to trade given his contract and how much he's owed. $40 million this year, $43 million the year after that, $46 million in 2025, 2026, and a player option for essentially $49 million. That is just matching the salary becomes a pain on all of this and very difficult. Like, he's still a very good player, very talented. He's not yet 30, but just figuring out how to make that work becomes really hard. You know, Miami, certainly, you know, the 76ers want to add more talent, use some of the picks they got from the James Harden trade to try and bring a big name in. I don't know where the salary comes from to make that work for them anymore, but it's got to be Toronto, I think, is the best fit, right? Like, they need some sort of just injection of something, some excitement, some energy, some scoring. So I think he makes the most sense there. There's also some sort of like weird poeticness of him potentially going to the team that DeMar DeRozan played for while leaving them. They certainly just feel like they need something, maybe kind of getting that kind of dynamic guard after losing Fred VanVleet and Zach LaVine would make the most sense.
I can see it. I don't know that Toronto wants to pay that money.
No, that's
Zach
fair.
LaVine. And like, how do you match that? You gotta give up Siakam. If you're Toronto, are you gonna give up Siakam, who's on an expiring, to get Zach LaVine for 4 more seasons? I don't know about that. I'm gonna say Brooklyn.
Okay.
Because Ben Simmons is going to be out again for nerve. This is just coming out that the nerve thing is back. He's missed the last few games. He's going to be out for a while. Ben Simmons is done. Like, it's going to be impossible for him to play and be productive. If the Chicago Bulls are looking to blow it up, take him, pay him this year, pay him next year, use him next year as an expiring, maybe to send him to a team that might be looking to clear some space. And then the Nets can get another scorer and just try to run teams out of the building, right? Like, they are a fast-paced, up and down 3-point shooting team. Let's just get another one in there and see if we can't make this like not like 4 seconds or less and go from there. But I think what we're talking about here, Jake, is it's going to be impossible. Like, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to move him no matter what. Let's play a game of real or fake here. That's what we do on Wednesdays. Let's play a game of real or fake right now. Zach LaVine is the biggest prize available on this Chicago Bulls in this rebuild.
So, look, part of me wants to say that's real. This is a dude who's averaging for his career over 20 points per game, right? Since he's been in Chicago until more or less this season, it's been over like 22, 23 points per game. He also shoots a lot of threes, and he hits them at times a pretty good rate. But he's so difficult to trade. No one wants that salary on their books for that long. So I'm going to say it's fake in that we know who we're talking about here. It's Alex Caruso is going to be the guy that teams should be coveting with this Chicago Bulls squad. Defense gives you enough shooting, though not on high volume, can run your offense, is just a dude that fits into what basically every single team is not a high usage guy. 9.46 million this year, under 10 million next year. Like, it's just an easy trade that you can get done, and it should net Chicago a first-round pick.
At least a first-round pick. I think the competition for him is going to be high because I think he can be a game changer. He can come in on a good team and potentially be an impactful player off the bench or as a spot starter. I think he can be really, really, really good, and there are going to be plenty of suitors for him. Now, I just did on the Locked On Celtics podcast. Like, the Celtics, I don't think they have a way to get him. But I'm just sitting there when the second I heard Zach LaVine available, I was like, yeah. How's Alex? What are we looking at here for Alex? And I think there are going to be teams lining up to potentially pick him up. I think Milwaukee should take a look. I think Philly should take a look.
You nailed that, by the way, I think, with Milwaukee. You get some of the Drew Holiday replacement that they're sorely missing.
Yep.
Love it. Love that idea.
I think Milwaukee has to step up and say, Now I haven't looked at how they can do it.
Yeah, I have no clue.
I haven't looked at their salaries, but their number one thing that they're struggling with the most is defense. They need somebody to come in and kind of reset their defense. Now, he's not going to be Holiday, but he's going to be good. If I'm Milwaukee, I'm looking at Chicago and saying, all right, buddy, let's work this out. And whatever you need to do, you got to do it, because obviously Giannis, signed the extension and all of that stuff, but extensions mean nothing. And if this isn't going to work over there, then you can't just tell Giannis like, the defense it's not working the way we thought it would. We're just going to have to deal with it. He's going to be pissed. He's going to be like, no. We had to give up Holiday. Boston has Holiday. We got to keep up with Boston. Go get this guy. Find a way to get this guy. So that's my number one target there.
I want to go back to something you said about Zach LaVine. Do you know how much fun a backcourt of him and Cam Thomas would be in Brooklyn? I really love that idea, dude.
I'm telling you, man, the shot that team might average 150 points a game.
Man, Bridges too.
And give up 155.
Yeah, no. Look, I think Cam Thomas will come back down to earth a little bit with how he's been playing. Almost 27 points per game, which is just like silly, by the way. I don't know. That team would be fun to watch. That team would be really fun to watch. The salaries work with Ben Simmons and Zach LaVine too.
It's the only one that makes sense to me. It's the only one that you can get the number to match closely enough where Chicago can be like, hey, look, we're gonna pay this guy to sit there. We're blowing it up. And the new salary floor rules mean that you
got to pay somebody.
You got to pay somebody. So you can't just sit there and like, so it's okay that you're paying that guy a lot of money. And like next year as an expiring contract, as a potential trade piece, hey, maybe that could work as well. But I think that's the place that makes the most sense to me. So there we go. I tell you what, from a Boston perspective, if Milwaukee gets Caruso, I'm not happy. I am not happy. He's got to go like the Lakers, like he's got to go to LA or something. Like he's got to go way out west because I just think he's a game changer. I think I wrote the other day that he's going to be the most coveted prize at the trade deadline. And here we are. All right. Got to move on here to the Clippers, still doing Clippers things, which is not winning with James Harden. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Today's show brought to you by Ibotta. How does free Thanksgiving sound? Sounds amazing to me. This year, Ibotta is here to give you cash back and help make sure your Thanksgiving table is complete, because who wants turkey without the gravy? All month long here in November, for the fourth year in a row, Ibotta is giving you 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast. Just add the offers in the app to redeem for everything you need to make your Thanksgiving feast complete. All you got to do is shop at your favorite online retailer or favorite retailers in general and upload your receipt. Ibotta gives you cash back, cash money on grocery items, personal care, pantry goods, hundreds of them. Other apps give you points. This is money that can go to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. And you can earn cash back at hundreds of online brands like Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, more. All you got to do is download the Ibotta app, IBOTTA. Use the code LOCKED to get a 100% cash back, to get 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving dinner starting November 1st. Go to the App Store, go to Google Play, download the free Ibotta app, IBOTTA. Use that code LOCKED to get 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving dinner. All right. The LA Clippers. We were gonna talk here. We were all set up. We planned this
such a letdown.
We were all set up. We're like, Wemby and Chet. We had the show where I talked like Chet's gonna be the rookie of the year over Wemby. We've talked about these guys so often. It feels like they've played against each other like 10 times already. And I was excited for this. And it was a big old dud. Just a blowout win for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Final score there was What was that final score? So 123 to 87, 36-point win. Victor Wembanyama, 8 points, minus 31. Chet Holmgren, 9 points. That was a plus 30. That's nice. A 3 of 10 shooting. They barely matched up against each other. And I don't know, Jake, like that, to me, that's a little disappointing. Like we can't tell them to guard each other, but the league is kind of selling it as, hey guys, Chet and Wemby, and
it's gonna be like the unicorn fight, right? Like that's what this was gonna be, and like you're gonna go see two mythical creatures battle it out on a basketball court, and we got none of that. I was so excited for this one. I've been excited for both of these guys, and we've been waiting for this matchup. They're in the same, same conference, so you'll see it a bunch, and we don't get it like at all.
So we have to turn our attention to the LA Clippers and Denver Nuggets, which was a great game, and in the end, it came down to the Denver Nuggets being the champs and understanding how to win a game, and the LA Clippers being the chumps and not understanding how to win a game because it's just like one-on-one. The real thing is that they still haven't figured each other out, and it is a work in progress, but their work in progress hasn't won a damn thing yet. 0-5 with Harden, 0-6 since the trade, and down the stretch, They were up. They had it with 5 minutes to go. They were up by 5. Westbrook comes out. Harden comes in. They're outscored 19-9 the rest of the way, including a 7-0 run. And as if the basketball gods wanted to hammer home the point, Paul George shoots a potential game-tying shot, and it's a wedgie. It just gets wedged into the
beautiful,
rim.
Man. It was like the most symbolic thing I have ever seen in my life. The basketball gods wanted to just beat us over the head with the symbolism there. He was contested that whole play, by the way. That wasn't like an open three. There was no ball movement. It was literally him just dribbling. James Harden, by the way, is in the left corner next to him, kind of open, doesn't pass him the ball at all, and rips that contested three for a wedgie.
Meanwhile, Nikola Jokic is getting double teamed and throwing touch passes underneath the basket to Aaron Gordon for clutch reverse dunks. The Denver Nuggets are very, very good. I feel bad that they're going to get shortchanged here, but there's not much more to say. They're very, very good. Jokic is a god. They move the ball well, and even without Murray, they got Reggie Jackson stepping up and making plays. A great recognition when everybody was worried about Jokic and setting a shot up for him down the stretch with a minute or so to go. And he just blows by, I think it was Man, and he gets the layup. So the Nuggets are awesome. They're the champs, and they're going to be really, really hard to beat. The Clippers, I don't know when they're going to figure this out, how they're going to figure this out. But my biggest question for you here is, Westbrook is sitting out this stretch run here repeatedly. That is it. It's one thing to ask the guy to sit. It's another thing to ask him to sit and have him watch you lose 5 games in a row to do it. Chemistry, I don't know how that's going to go. I don't have high hopes, Jake. Where are you on this?
No, I mean, look, you can sum this up in a couple of ways. I think the one that I want to point out is the Clippers lost to the Grizzlies, who have 2 wins, one of which is against that Clippers team, right? The Memphis Grizzlies are a get-right game for everybody right now. The Lakers haven't been good, and they blew out the Memphis Grizzlies 134-107 on Tuesday night. The Clippers lost to that team. Like that, more than anything else, should just be setting off like alarm bells to all of them. We're talking about Russ maybe needing to be out there and potentially be their savior. He wasn't good in this game. He was 4-12.
No, he's not good.
No, and I'm not saying that you were saying he was good, but it's like he was bad. He was doing some good things. There was a lot of off-ball movement from him that you don't normally see that they probably need to like integrate more with him. A couple like baseline cuts that I thought were really good. But he also, despite the shooting, was a +1. James Harden in a 3-point loss was a -3. Just throwing that out there. That's a 4-point difference between those two players in a 3-point loss. It's a mess. Like it's a mess. Like they're eventually going to need to put Westbrook on the bench, which is going to negate all of the good. And he'd found like kind of the right role for them earlier on in the season. And then this trade just threw everything off that they do well and just threw them all out of whack. And now you're basically kind of building everything from the ground up. It feels like, okay, it's early. You can say, we're under 12 games into the season, but that doesn't still seem like an ideal thing to be doing in the slightest. You'd like to have some sort of sense of identity, and they definitely don't have that right now at all.
No, I mean, I don't want to beat the dead horse because everybody's going to be talking about this. Like they're the team that's supposed to be, one of the challengers in the West. And this is, I think a lot of us kind of saw this kind of thing happening.
Dude, everyone saw this. Everyone saw this. I was about to make a joke of like, who could have seen this coming? And the answer is everyone. Everyone saw this coming.
Right. Like, that's the thing. When they made this trade, like, I was just begging them, like, just go get Malcolm Brogdon. Just go get Malcolm Brogdon. Just go do that. And like, have him be your point guard and just be a solid kind of guy that can distribute and is not going to dominate. And he's going to get guys the ball when they need to get where they need to get the ball. And he's going to score. And that's what you need. But nope. And they didn't take it to the trade deadline. They didn't do any of that stuff.
They overpaid for him too.
Yeah. I just, the Clippers, this is, I think it's got to be like one of the last examples of players pushing for something and the team giving in. Everyone should have seen this coming with the Clippers. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I can't.
We did.
I can't just repeat myself over and over again because where are we getting with that? Clippers made, I think this felt like a last ditch effort, but they're opening up a new arena, man. And this is going to be a horribly disappointing season. And Harden's
and then they're going to re-sign everybody. They're going to re-sign them all.
This is bad. I honestly, I believe like this is actually bad for the Clippers. This is not going to, I don't think they're going to get right. I don't think they're going to figure this out. I have no faith in that. So.
I'm trying to look at their cap sheet right now. Paul George has a player option. Kawhi Leonard has a player option. James Harden's a free agent. They're going to re-sign all three of them.
Yeah. Well, where are they going to go?
Massive money. Exactly.
Yeah. They're not going to go anywhere. And they have to. They're stuck. They're stuck. They're not going to rebuild. They're opening a new arena. Correct. This big fancy arena with some fancy, like, what is it, 70 rows, like no whatever. I have no idea what this thing's going to be, but it's supposed to be like this insane thing. They're going to have to fill it with stars. They're going to have to get people there, and they can't blow up their team and have like 10,000 people show up in this new arena. So
good luck, Clipper fans.
This is the first time I really felt bad for them, for the Clippers fans. Like, I really, honestly, like, I legit feel bad. I'm sorry. I feel bad. I don't feel bad enough to keep going about it, though. I'm going to just.
I don't feel bad enough for our listeners who got to listen to an awesome podcast.
Yeah. Awesome podcast. Available Monday through Friday. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section. Let us know what you're thinking. Tomorrow, who's tomorrow? Oh, it's Nick Angstead and Pat the Designer. Chicago Bulls guy. I'm sure they're going to be talking a little bit more on Zach LaVine and all of that stuff. Plus, more on the night and whatever's going on. So make sure you're checking that out. As usual on Wednesdays, it's us, John Karalis, here from the Locked On Celtics podcast. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis.
And I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, on Twitter at NolaJake.
Now it's time for you to share the podcast, spread the word, tell your friends, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On NBA podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.